I'm going to talk today about how we're approaching two different problems. Problem number one, the lack of energy capacity during peak command. How many people have experienced brownouts and blackouts over the last 10 or 11 summers? Raise your hands. Pretty much everybody in here. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sick of it. Problem number two, the EPA is currently monitoring almost 500,000 contaminated sites in this country. What we are seeing is a very interesting intersection of these two problems, resulting in some very exciting solutions. I've been in the environmental engineering field for over 30 years, and I have witnessed firsthand, up close and very personal, the havoc wreaked upon Midwestern communities by our 19th and 20th century industrial economy. Calling it the Rust Belt doesn't quite capture it, because prior to the hazardous waste regulations of the 1980s, industry left a whole lot more than rust behind. In fact, it left thousands of contaminated sites, and our risk-averse developers are loath to touch those sites with a 10-foot pole. This map shows you the potentially contaminated sites in this country. These sites can be abandoned mines, all kinds of factories shuttered for any variety of reasons, and landfills. 490,000 sites covering 15 million acres. So what's a brownfield? What's a contaminated site? Well, here's one. And you can see a couple of my environmental scientists about to sample some of that very murky looking water in the foreground. They aren't wearing those waders and hazmat suits because they're going fishing. These sites can be contaminated with all kinds of things: PCBs, volatile organic compounds, heavy metals, pesticides, and herbicides. But now that I've thoroughly depressed everybody, let's get back to what we're really here to talk about today, which is energy. And you can see from this astronaut's eye view, thank NASA for the great picture, we have lots of lights to keep on in this country. It's projected that within 20 years, the need for energy capacity in this global energy capacity will increase by 30%. Lots of us agree these days that we can't in order to keep pace with this, we must use renewable energy. Relying on our old sources of energy isn't good for obvious reasons, whether we're talking coal, oil, natural gas. They cause pollution, global warming, you name it. So, where can we find 15 million acres of land just waiting for development? Let's see, where can we do that? So, this isn't my idea, it's not a new idea. We have had successes in this country putting renewable energy on brownfields and other contaminated sites after appropriate cleanup, of course. Anyone who's been involved with development knows that it takes a lot of work. You can really break a sweat. These projects, whether it's the zoning, the permitting, making sure you have the right infrastructure on the sites, really hard work, right? But the great thing about these former industrial sites we are proposing to use for renewable energy projects, all that stuff is already in place. They're already zoned industrial. They already have water, they have sewer, they have roads, and they're plugged into the grid. All the heavy lifting is done. There are lots of support for these projects. For the project that we did on the south side of Chicago, I think the alderman said it best. She said, when asked by a local reporter about the solar power plant proposed for her neighborhood, for her ward, she said she was thankful to God because nothing good had happened in her ward in a very long time. Why wouldn't the local residents want a clean, renewable power project on their site, something that would ignite redevelopment, that would ignite other projects to come to the area. So there are support for these projects. These projects are a very good idea for any number of reasons. And the second one of them is very green, as in money kind of green. There are government involvement and government incentives at all levels, tax incentives, grants, loan guarantees, you name it. They are willing to do almost anything to help bring these, bring renewable projects to fruition. Another good idea for siting on brownfields and other formerly contaminated sites is that it reduces the pressure on undeveloped lands or green fields. In Cook County, well, because developing your green fields has horrible implications for a region, including protecting non-protection of the ecology and ruining your wetlands. But besides that, in counties like Cook County, which Chicago's in Cook County for those of you that aren't from Chicago, 42% of all land in Cook County is covered with an impervious surface, whether it be parking lot, roads, sidewalks, patios, structures. Paving everything on our path is not the answer. So now back to my wonderful site on 41 acres in Chicago, West Pullman neighborhood. When we got involved with the project, half of the 41 acres was 2 months away or a few months away from completing a 12-year-long environmental cleanup. Can you imagine? Anyway. So they were 2 months away from completing that, and the other half of the site had a history of industry involved in the metal casting and also had known rail spurs, etc. The site had become a serious dumping ground for 55-gallon drum, tires, construction debris, you name it. Today, this is Exelon City Solar. Exelon wanted to site their urban power plant, solar power plant, on a site in a neighborhood that was desperately in need of revitalization, and that was West Pullman. Today, Exelon City Solar is clean, attractive, secure site producing enough energy to power 1,500 homes. Not only that, but it's actually become a tourist attraction. I don't think Navy Pier has anything to worry about, but I still think it's really cool that the tours actually fill to capacity to come out and see the site. I think it's probably really ambitious to think that we can have tens of thousands of Exelon City Solars across the country, but US EPA does have an initiative called Repowering America's Land, where they will evaluate sites such as Exelon City Solar and those other 490,000 sites to see what their renewable energy potential is. Not only will they do that evaluation, but they also provide all sorts of other resources to government, local and state government, developers, and all other stakeholders that are interested in locating renewable energy sources on these brownfield sites. I'm not going to go through any of these in dramatic detail, but Steel Winds in Lackwanna, New York is located on the coast of Lake Erie, just south of Buffalo, and that was a former Bethlehem Steel site. Casper Winds, Wyoming, you can see the old Texaco refinery. Chevron built its own wholly owned wind farm on an old Texaco refinery site. Rifle, Colorado that solar array is built on a former uranium mining site where they used to produce 400 tons of core a day, and now it has a beautiful solar power plant. Coming back to the Midwest, we have 3 projects very much like Exelon City Solar that are really in early stages of development. 2 of them, the one in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and the one in Duluth, Minnesota, I'm going through these slides really quickly, are both on former landfill sites. And Cleveland's really cool because the Cleveland solar power plant is going to help power the Cleveland airport. So these are all just really cool things. Anyway, just in conclusion, remember we had these almost 500,000 potentially contaminated or contaminated sites that we as citizens are paying tax money to watch, sometimes for 20, 30, 40 years. And like, we know we need energy. These projects have been successfully done. I think we just need to do lots more of them. Thank you.